everybody knows that you can't stop for too long, got to keep.
The first step in generating wealth is to pay yourself first.
I know everybody knows.
Stay tuned.
Stay protected.
Stay focused.
Stay connected.
There's a lot of different types of HELOC products that are now on the market, some of them geared towards velocity banking, and that's really good news.
This is probably the largest asset you will ever have in your life.
Right.
Here's some direction and some instruction on how to leverage this vehicle so that you can help yourself, help your family, accomplish your goals. We're not educated that way.
We use a strategy to pay off our home in 4 years.
Validation of your retirement account says what you thought was a retirement account is no longer one.
When I tell you, you're going to be shocked to learn. If you didn't come from a wealthy family,
You can make sure a wealthy family comes from you. So it starts with pay yourself first, today,
Yeah, starting today.
right now. Put your money in somewhere secure. It's about the ability to not lose. I will take base hits all day long versus winning and losing. Somewhere secure, compound your money, and then you leverage OPM, other people's money, to exponentially grow it. That's how you generate wealth.
So whether you're joining us to crush debt or build wealth, time is the most valuable asset.
and we're so grateful that you're spending your time here with us.
Got to keep going.
Good evening. Tonight we are talking about one of the smartest moves that you can do with your 401k before December 31st. And so if you are looking to invest in what you want, when you want, this is the right place. We're going to talk about this evening just the move that you make with the 401k, with the old 401k, specifically what qualifies for this type of move and who this is good for, right? What are some of the other benefits that you can get from doing this? And with today's economic climate, just in general, with everyone talking about alternative assets, specifically gold and silver, and how much they have soared and will continue to, a lot of people are wondering, how do I invest in that? And why can't, if I pull my money out of the market right now with all of this craze that's going on, how can I use those dollars to invest in those things that I would want to invest in?
Right. And this is a consistent theme that we tend to run into, especially around this time. It's the most wonderful time of the year. We're in the fourth quarter. And I think that's the hard part for me to wrap my head around. We are literally in the fourth quarter. So the best thing that you can do is use this time between now and the end of the year to get properly structured, to do the right thing, to be able to put yourself in a position so that you're not impacted by taxes and things like that as the years progress. So,
well, not only is there tax advantages, but there's also just the freedom and control piece.
Right.
With everything that's going on right now, the ability to have complete control over your dollars, over your retirement, over your future, and be able to make a move, you have to be in a position to be able to do so. And to be in that position, you need to be properly structured.
That's right.
So that's what we're going to talk about.
That's it.
Welcome everyone in the chat. We love to see it. We love to see where you're from. We see Oklahoma City. Great. Welcome. If you have a question during this process, I always like to remind everyone, put a Q in front of your question during the live chat. That way we have the ability to identify where the questions are, either just chat or questions for Donnell or I. Thank you so much for tuning in. And well, we hope you take some notes. Ready to get started?
It'll want to be one of those kind of days. So
You
it'll be pretty quick though.
You ready to get started?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
1, 2, 3.
The goal should be, where can I achieve exponential growth? Exponential growth.
Let's just get into it. Let's just get
All right.
Wow, you made it.
I did. With a little bit of time to spare. So what we're talking about today, so we've been talking a lot over these last few weeks, how a properly structured self-directed retirement account will allow you to invest in what you want. And we have intentionally stayed away from Roth versus traditional dollars. So today we want to spend a little bit more time to kind of peel back the layers on Roth versus traditional, because it's a huge impact on your ability to invest in what you want. So this is all about being properly structured, but the truth of the matter is, if you're not properly structured, you will find yourself paying way too much tax, far too much tax than you deserve to. And so we're going to spend less time on whether it's an IRA or whether it's a 401k, and focus more on whether it's Roth versus traditional. And we're going to spend some time breaking down some examples as well, because a lot of the questions that I get tend to lump everything in the same category, meaning the calls I get is, hey, I want a Roth IRA. or I want a Roth account, not having clarity around what that actually means. So we're going to want to spend some time there. And here's the other big piece of it all. If you don't know whether or not you are structured correctly to not pay too much tax, you are giving the government an open checkbook to charge you whatever the tax rate is in the future. So let me say that again. If you don't understand how to get properly structured using your retirement dollars, you're putting yourself in a position to give the government an open checkbook. Based off the debt today, the national debt today, do you think the government knows what to do with your money? Do you feel comfortable opening yourself up to allow the government to charge you whatever the tax rate is when the time comes that you need these dollars? And I think we can all agree the answer is no. So the more control you have, the correct structure that you have also allows you to make sure you're not paying any unnecessary tax. And the other piece is being conscious of these dates, or this date specifically. You have until the end of the year to get your self-directed retirement account in place. Whether that's a self-directed IRA or a self-directed 401k, it actually does not matter, because they both, once you get properly structured before the end of the year, you have until the tax period in 2026 to be able to actually fund it. So the key is it needs to be in place. The key is it needs to be through the process and be fully developed and in place and intact before the end of the year. So it's very important that we take advantage of this fourth quarter to get properly structured so that you can then take advantage of whatever the actions are. And again, you still have until either April 15th of 2026 or October 15th of 2026 when you finally file your taxes to be able to fund the account with those necessary dollars. And why is this important? And it's largely due to the fact that based off the calls that I get, most don't really understand the power of having Roth dollars versus traditional. Why? It's because most of our retirement dollars are in traditional accounts. What do I mean? Well, these two companies alone, Fidelity and Vanguard, control 60% of our retirement dollars. And most of us who have a retirement account with our employer have what type of retirement account? In most cases, it has pre-tax dollars in it, meaning we have not paid taxes on the dollars we've contributed into these retirement accounts. So if these two companies have over 60%, is it unusual that you have not heard of the emphasis hasn't been placed on making sure these dollars are in the best position so that you aren't taxed on them? And so my point to this slide is, because the traditional retirement accounts are held in a traditional fashion, who benefits from you not knowing whether or not having your dollars in the correct position to make sure you aren't taxed? Who benefits the most from this structure? It's not you. And so how much between this 60%, and again, I think that ends up being somewhere around $27 trillion is what these two companies have between them. Do you know how much of this this 60% rather is Roth versus traditional? Do you know? Do you know how much of this dollar amount that's held just between these two companies, how much is Roth versus traditional? And that math works out to be, it's about 25%. No, I need a real pen. It's about 25% Roth. What does that mean? Well, if the majority of these two companies hold your retirement dollars and the majority of your retirement dollars are sitting in traditional form, what that ultimately means is the majority of you love the fact that you're about to provide the government with an open checkbook to charge you whatever the tax rate is in the future. And I don't think we all feel this way, but this is what I'll call it, opening ourselves up to, is to be charged whatever the tax rate is when the government decides to charge you for it. So if you don't want the government to have that control over your retirement dollars, what should you do? Well, you got to get properly structured. And it kind of starts with understanding what is the difference between Roth and traditional. And it's actually pretty simple because it's all based off the timing of the tax advantage. With traditional dollars, you do not pay tax today. you pay tax when it's time to start taking the distribution from your nest egg. So when you decide to start taking this distribution, that is when you pay the tax. So if this is when you have the largest amount, if this is when you need the dollars the most, this is the point in which you start getting impacted by the largest tax burden. Now, there are some gurus out there that assume that because you will have less debt when you're older, because you will have less liabilities when you're older, you will need less income. And so therefore, your tax liability will be the lowest. But I don't think that way. I think our objective is to have abundance. Our objective is to have as much as possible in retirement. So if that's the case, then we want to make sure we're placing ourselves in a position to where we're not spending too much in taxes. So Roth is just saying, hey, I'm going to be taxed today. I'm going to be taxed on as my dollars are going into my next nest egg, so that when I do reach retirement age, I can access those retirement dollars for free without any tax. So again, it's just the timing of the tax advantage. Traditional, you're taxed at the end. Roth, you're taxed at the beginning. Or in simple terms, with Roth, you're paying taxes on the seed. They call it seed money. You pay taxes on the seed, and as the harvest grows, you get the harvest for free. Again, very simple terms. We should all want to live in a Roth environment. We should all want the fruits of our labor to be received tax-free. But to provide an example to this, and this is an example that I've used often in different ways, specifically in talking about how compound interest works. And so if you're 30 years of age and you're putting away $10,000, or you put away a one-time $10,000 into a traditional IRA. Again, 30 years of age, putting in a one-time $10,000 investment into a traditional IRA. Doesn't matter what it's invested in, but that investment is bringing you 9%. So 10,000 one time, getting a return on investment of 9% using the rule of 72. 72 divided by 9 is 8. That means every 8 years, your money doubles. It's just math. And so what that's saying is this $10,000 would grow to $320,000 inside this traditional IRA by the time you hit 70 years of age. Awesome. But because you put this dollar in as traditional, meaning you did not pay taxes on that one-time $10,000 investment, that means this $320,000 is 100% taxable. And using today's tax rates, if that puts you in somewhere around a 20% tax bracket, that means that you'll end up paying about $64,000 on that $320,000 that you received, which means your end result will be about $256,000 that you would have accessible to you to be able to use. And here's how this traditional versus Roth is positioned, depending on who you talk to. Because here's what people who don't fully understand how Roth works position this. Well, if you were to get a Roth IRA, and again, Roth, you pay taxes on the money as it goes in. So if you're paying taxes on this $10,000 as it goes in, they say what you're really doing is you're paying $2,000 in taxes, which results in $8,000 going into your Roth IRA, and that $8,000 compounding every 8 years, meaning doubling every 8 years, would result in, by the age of 70, $256,000. So the argument is whether it's Roth or traditional, it doesn't matter because the end result is the same. That is how this is positioned. But that is not true. And this is where it is very important to not just listen to me. You want to actually peel the layers back and get information from multiple places. Use ChatGPT even. Because if I leave this here, you will be left understanding that whether you get a Roth account or a traditional account, it doesn't matter because the way taxes are structured, it's going to end up being the same result. And this is 100% untrue, even though the math says it is true. But we have to understand the process around converting a dollar to Roth. So if I follow this conventional wisdom and say, you know what, I've got this $10,000 investment, I'm going to hold back $2,000 in taxes and then therefore put $8,000 into the investment, which will give me $256. Ha ha ha, they're the same. That's not how the process works. How does it work? Well, when it comes to converting a dollar to Roth, these are the actions, and this is the steps in which these actions take place. The first step is you have to decide to make a traditional dollar Roth. So if we're using that $10,000 investment as an example, let's say you decide on January 1 to invest that $10,000. As a result, because you've decided that I'm investing that $10,000 into this opportunity as Roth, it is now Roth, which means from January 1 of 2025 to December 31st of 2025, that $10,000 is building Roth profit. Well, the next step is at the end of the tax year, at the end of 2025, you are going to 1099-R yourself for the amount that was converted. Again, in this example, we're converting $10,000. So notice, $10,000 is what went into the investment, not $8,000, because you don't pay taxes at the point of, I'll call it contributing to whatever that investment is. You pay taxes at the end of the tax year. So if $10,000 went in on January 1, then from January 1 to December 31st of 2025, whatever grew during that period is Roth profit. And then on December 30 or April 15th of 2026, you're going to 1099-R yourself for the amount that was converted. You're going to 1099-R yourself for the full 10 grand, which means you're going to end up paying taxes on that 10 grand. It's going to be seen as additional income for calendar year 2025. So the first step is I'm going to 1099-R myself for the 10 grand. Okay, done, which means I'm going to pay taxes of $2,000. Now your account has to be in place for 5 years. So first, the initial step was I decided. The first step then becomes I 1099-R myself. The second step is my account has to be in place for 5 years. And the last step is I hit 59.5. Once that happens, every dollar that has grown from this original $10,000 investment, I can now take distributions tax-free. So knowing these steps, how does that above scenario change? Well, again, when we talk about that Roth 5-year rule, it's also about when that timing starts. Because I introduced that 10,000 on January 1, I get to count all of December 20, I get to account for all of 2025 as a part of that first year. But what if I would have converted that dollar to Roth on December 1st of 2025? Doesn't matter, because I'm still going to 1099-R myself for the amount that was converted, which means anything that I converted in the year of 2025 gets to count as the full year being used. So therefore, by year 2029, that 5-year piece is done. And again, the whole point and purpose of today is to understand the impact of this fourth quarter. We are running out of time. And because we're running out of time, you want to use this time now to get yourself properly structured so that, again, as long as it's done by December 31st, you would have until October of 2026 to actually fund your Roth account. Again, these are important dates. But now, knowing what we know, knowing that, okay, it starts with the decision. It also then we have to 1099 ourselves at the end of the year. And then our account has to be in place for 5 years. And then once we hit 59.5, everything in that account is Roth. So if we were to go back and look at that initial example, how does that initial example change? Well, again, from a traditional perspective, it does not, because it's still $10,000 being invested based off the rule of 72. I'm still going to owe $64,000 in taxes as I start taking distributions at age 70, which leaves me with about $256,000. But this Roth dollar amount, I'm investing the full 10 grand. I am not investing $8,000. I'm not investing this dollar amount after the tax have been removed. No, I'm investing the full dollar amount. As a result, based off the rule of 72, that full $320,000 is now accessible to me tax-free. This is how Roth actually works. So you have to be careful as to who you're listening to, because you can find yourself in a position where you think you're doing something that's going to end in the same result when in actuality you're leaving money on the table. And I go back to who benefits from you leaving money on the table. Go ahead, sweetheart.
I also want to just throw in here that these numbers hit different, or the impact hits different when the dollar has been devalued. So in addition to having to have a higher tax burden towards the end, right? Now your income that you will need will be taxed, right? Any distributions, but overall, it's not the amount of tax doesn't get devalued. it's the same. It's the power of the dollar that's devalued, and so you are setting yourself up in a position to depend on even less and pay even more.
Well, and what's interesting is I think you're predicting the next slide, because you're absolutely correct, because this is only one part of the equation. The first part is my initial investment isn't impacted negatively, and so therefore Roth is a different process. But you're right. What is that value of a dollar, and how does it perform over time? What is the impact of inflation, or whatever the case may be? The difference between here and here is 40 years. This 40-year performance, how valuable is this 320,000 at the end of that 40-year period? We're absolutely going to dig into that also.
Yeah, well, the other part is stacking tax advantages, right?
Okay.
And we're missing the part where there's other things that we can do that the majority of Americans just do not even do. Their radar is not even set anywhere near it, because it seems complicated, right? But once you learn it, you go, gosh, I could have been doing this the whole time. My parents could have been doing this the whole time. People have been doing this the whole time. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Right.
So what we hope is that you'll share out this information with someone, because each one teach one. We don't know what we don't know. And maybe the first couple of times you've heard this information, I'm sure some people are going like, how are they so passionate about this snooze fest of a topic?
Isn't it though? But the issue is, if you sleepwalk through this process, you will hit a point where you will run out of time in being able to make an adjustment to compensate for how this should look differently later on. So,
Yeah. Okay. Well, back to it.
so, so my point here is Roth. We should all be putting ourselves in a position to live in a Roth environment. Why? We're placing our dollar in the best position possible, such that we owe zero tax. The name of this game is to pay our fair share. But what we don't want to do is pay too much, or pay an exorbitant amount, or take up for the ill wills of what our government can or cannot control. So my objective is to pay as little as possible, and yours should be as well. And so when we look at Roth versus traditional, and again, just looking at it from the perspective of just a normal income earner, let's say you make 6 figures a year, and notice, I'm not even talking about a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k. It doesn't matter. Because Roth is a condition of the dollar. Traditional is a condition of the dollar. So regardless of the retirement account, that doesn't matter. It's Roth versus traditional. I have an annual income of 100,000 for each. And the contribution, we're going to max out, and in this case, it's 23,000, so it has to be a 401k, because an IRA you wouldn't be able to. But my point is, if you're maxing out your contributions over the next 25 years, if you do the math on this $23,000 contribution over the next 25 years, from a Roth perspective, we paid tax on the initial $23,000 investment each year. So there is a tax on that $23,000 every year for the next 25 years, whereas from a traditional perspective, that $23,000 is not taxed at all. It's not taxed till the end. So from a Roth perspective, you spent almost $300,000 in taxes paid. Why? Because you paid taxes on this initial $23,000 over the next 25 years, which resulted in this dollar amount. And how it's being sold, how it's being pushed, how it's being positioned is the reason you want tax deferral is because, hey, instead of paying that $300,000, you have now avoided a $300,000 tax. That's how it's being positioned to you, as though this is a positive. But that's not the full story. Because if we're going to talk about this 25-year span, this 25-year period, what does that $100,000 look like? And how does that purchasing power change over that 25 years? So if we were to look backwards 25 years, $100,000, 25 years, and the tax you would have paid on it would have placed you somewhere around here. Meaning the value for that $100,000 looks different 25 years ago than it does today. And so the purchasing power of that same $100,000 looks significantly different. And so if we take the impact of 25 years on the value of the dollar, what ultimately happens to this equation? Well, that Roth account, again, $100,000 going in, I'm paying tax on the $23,000 each year for the next 25 years. Yes, I would have paid $300,000 in taxes. But $100,000 in income 25 years from now looks more like $210,000, meaning the income required on an annual basis to match my lifestyle of $100,000 25 years later looks more like $210,000, which means I need to take distributions of $210,000 when I hit retirement age 25 years later. So if we were to apply that thought process to the traditional account, meaning this $100,000 that I'm making, I'm dropping $23,000 a year into this tax deferred account. Yeah, I avoided $297,000, but now that I'm being taxed on $210,000 annually to be able to maintain my lifestyle, it ends up equating to about $1.4 million in taxes that you're spending. So I paid $300,000 in my Roth account to not pay anything over the next 25 years of distributions compared to avoiding $300,000 in taxes only to end up paying $1.4 million. Will your advisor tell you that? Will your advisor explain that to you? Does your company's custodian who holds your current company's retirement account, who's inviting you to contribute to this tax deferred account, have they broken down over time the true impact of you deferring your taxes and what that honestly means? Because again, if we're just looking at, hey, I'm deferring taxes right now, yeah, that impact right now is great, but what are you doing to your future self? And how would your future self appreciate the fact that you paid that $300,000 up front to avoid a $1.4 million tax burden later? So when we talk about traditional accounts, and this is traditional retirement accounts, whether they are traditional retirement accounts coming from your employer, inherited accounts, whether you have a previous employer plan and you're looking to take advantage of it without waiting till you're 59 and a half, or you're properly structured with a self-directed IRA or self-directed 401k, all in traditional form. It doesn't matter when we're talking about traditional dollars, all of them have a tax liability. And in some cases, they have a tax and penalty liability. But in all cases, the government is going to get their money at some point. The government is going to get the taxes that are owed to them at some point. So whether you have a traditional account with your employer, an inherited traditional account, because this is a silver tsunami, so there's a lot of people that are inheriting retirement accounts from their loved ones, or you were impatient and you just needed access to your money because you wanted to do better, or you have a self-directed retirement account, there is a tax liability coming. So the best thing you can do is put yourself in position so that you don't have any of it. And there's a way to go about this, meaning you might have $100,000 sitting in your current retirement account and you're going, oh my gosh, that $100,000 is going to turn into $1.4 million later. I don't want that. Well, maybe we become strategic around how to spread that tax burden today across the time that you currently have so that you don't even have to eat the full $100,000 tax burden. So the key is structure. The key is jumping on my calendar. Let's have a discussion about it. Sweetheart, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. And so again, when we're talking about self-directed retirement accounts are in place so that you can invest in non-traditional investments. I won't spend a whole lot of time here, but again, we talk often, what do those non-traditional investments look like? Whether we're talking real estate, land, mortgage pools, cryptocurrency, it doesn't matter. The list is extensive and completely long, but I wanted to run through a few examples as it relates to how to take or make a Roth investment, because it's a lot easier than you think. So if you're properly structured with a self-directed IRA or self-directed 401k and you're looking to build Roth profit inside of it, what does that look like? Well, when I say your retirement account can buy an investment property, what I mean is your 401k can write a check for the earnest money or for the deposit down. Uh-oh. Did you want me to do the full screen? Is that what you're asking me to do?
Yeah, they can't see that.
I can do that. Okay.
Okay, start over. And scene.
No problem.
Sorry, guys.
Is that better?
Yep. Is that better for you guys?
So the truth is let me switch hands then. Your 401k or your IRA can buy an investment property. And what that looks like is it's as simple as writing a check from your retirement account to be able to invest in it. And so I don't like that either. Look, I'm trying to find a color that shows up a little bit better, but I don't know if there is one. That's a little bit better. So again, your 401k can put a retirement account, your 401k can put an investment property in it, meaning your 401k can own a rental property or a fix and flip. So what that means is you find the property you want, you throw a few dollars from your retirement account in it to be able to fix it up. And the question is, was it purchased with Roth dollars or not? Well, at this point, you may not have decided to convert your retirement account to Roth, but maybe once it's fixed up, you decided to do so. That's okay. Once you decide that your traditional dollars are Roth, at that point in time, they then can be used as Roth dollars. So when you make that decision, if the answer is yes, guess what? You've just, I'll call it, accomplished the first two steps in this process. You decided, and then you 1099-R'd yourself for the amount that was used to buy this property. So once you've done those two things, those dollars are now working for you as Roth. So any rent achieved is Roth profit. Any profit made from a fix and flip is now Roth profit. So now we just need for your account to be in place for the next 5 years. Once you hit 59 and a half, now any distribution you take from that property is now a tax-free distribution for the rest of your life. In stop. So my point is the opportunity for you here is pretty powerful, and it's not dependent upon you deciding today. Maybe the opportunity doesn't exist today. Maybe you want to use this opportunity to start converting dollars to Roth now, so that when the opportunity presents itself, it's just a matter of buying the property, putting it into your Roth account, and away you go. But what if we're talking about, and you might want to move me around a little bit, what if we were talking about cryptocurrency or precious metals even? They function the same way. You don't have to have your dollars converted to Roth right now today. But when you identify when I'll call it, when crypto takes that dip and you want to buy the dip because you know it's going to return, you convert those dollars to Roth at that point. And then as you ride the rise of that opportunity, the question is, when do you decide, or when did you convert those dollars to Roth? Depending on when and how much determines whether or not we're talking about a tax-free or a taxable distribution. The cool part about it is you control this process when you're properly structured. You're not having to ask permission as to whether or not this dollar amount that you're converting to Roth that you purchased this cryptocurrency with should or shouldn't be. You get to decide whether or not that dollar's Roth or not. You have full autonomy. And that goes also for precious metals. So whether we're talking gold, silver, crypto, does not matter. You have control over what that process looks like as to whether or not you're using tax-free dollars. And the last one is when we're talking about RV parks, self-storage facilities, any commercial real estate or other asset class that kind of fit in the same bucket. Again, you don't have to decide today whether or not that dollar is Roth or not. You can choose to wait until the opportunity actually presents itself. Once the opportunity is cash flowing, you can convert those dollars at that point. All that means is the amount that was used to buy the storage facility When you decide to convert it to Roth, that is the point in which you want to 1099-R yourself for that tax year. And then once that is done, hey, has the account been in place for 5 years or not? If the answer is no, be careful of taking distributions because it will be a taxable distribution. If the answer is yes, okay. I've accomplished the next stage in the process of converting this dollars to Roth. My account has been in place for 5 years. So once you hit 59 and a half, at that point of that, on midnight of your 59 and a half birthday, now every dollar that you have, that you are now taking distributions from that original opportunity is now tax-free. Hard stop. So I go back to why we're here. You have until, I know you're trying to figure out a place to put me. You have until December 31st to get yourself properly structured. Why December 31st? Well, it's because you just have to have the account created. And that's whether it's an IRA or a 401k. It does not matter which one, because both will allow you to contribute to them up until you complete your taxes on April 15th, or in some cases, October 15th. So you have majority of 2026 to be able to contribute for calendar year or tax year 2025. So it's important that we take this fourth quarter to get you properly structured. And sweetheart, the only other thing that I wanted to hit here is, where do you go? So if you want to understand whether or not you have a retirement account worthy of being self-directed, meaning worthy of being placed in a position to have more control over, take yourself over to self-directed or sdretirementplans.com, www.sdretirementplans.com, and simply jump on my calendar. So if you don't mind, sweetheart, would you, well, actually you don't have to, you can stay right here. If you go to SD Retirement Plans, I forgot I pulled it up. If you go to SD Retirement Plans, it takes you here. And there's a lot of information here. If you wanted to understand how a self-directed retirement solution can work for you, you were looking for examples as to whether it's an IRA or 401k. If there were, what's the process? What's the process of being able to establish your account? Meaning, what are those steps? Even what are those costs? It's as simple as going to sdretirementplans.com, and when you're ready, you can hit the schedule a call button, and guess what it will do? It will bring you to my calendar, which will allow you to pick a time to be able to jump on my calendar when you want, to be able to invest in what you want. And sweetheart, I am all done.
Okay, you coming back over here, or you want to stay over there?
I can stay here.
Okay. All right. Well, now let's, we do have a question from Veronica. So we'll pull that up.
Hi, Veronica.
Yeah. Hi, Veronica. Okay, here we go. She's saying 1099-R question. Okay. The amount you invested when the rent comes in, does it go back to the 401k or does it go into a bank account?
Yep. So the answer to that question is actually yes, which is weird because that means it's yes to all of it. So when you, when your 401k or your IRA, when your retirement account buys a rental property and you have rent coming back in, it has to come back into the 401k. Well, the 401k has its own checking account. So it's coming back into the checking account of the 401k. And so again, short answer to that question is, does it go into a bank account? Yes, it goes into your 401k checking account, which you are then able to write a check from and buy another investment property if you would like. I've gotten a few calls this week, well, actually last week, related to this subject specifically because I have clients who have assets inside of their 401k, like self-storage facilities or RV parks or rental properties. Their issue is, as the returns are coming back into the checking account, they're coming back into what's called a passive checking account, meaning it's coming back into a checking account that's not collecting any interest. So imagine 12 months of rental income coming back into your 401k checking account. That's significant. And so the question is, what can I do with these dollars that are coming back into this checking account? How about anything you want? And the concern that I'm getting from clients is, I don't want money coming back into this checking account doing nothing. They've learned that, hey, my money's employees. So we need to put these employees to work. And so they're concerned that, hey, can I access these dollars to be able to put them to work? And the answer is yes. You could go as far as opening a brokerage account in the name of the 401k. So as rent comes back into the checking account, it immediately gets transferred into a brokerage account, into some ETF or high yield savings account with another brokerage firm. Like there are many different options. Or you could pool those funds to become a hard money lender to buy another property. So a lot more answer than you thought.
We have another question from Gabo. So when you convert crypto to go into a Roth account, do you have to pay tax before the funds get inside the account? If I held crypto for over a year, there is no capital gain if less than up to $48,350. So what say you, Donnell?
And that's why that example early on was so important, because let's put actual dates to it. Let's say you invest in crypto again on February 1. You put $10,000 into you take $10,000 from your 401k and move it into your Coinbase account so that you can buy crypto on February 1. Okay. So the question is, on February 1 of 2025, would you have paid taxes on that $10,000? No, because the process says this. The first step is I decide $1 Roth. So the first step was I invested $10,000 into this Coinbase account and I bought some crypto on February 1, which means all 10,000 bought $10,000 worth of crypto. Hard stop. Well, between February 1 and December 31st, what did crypto do? Let's say my $10,000 became 15 grand. Again, I'm just making up numbers. That means from the February 1 to December 31st, I made 5,000 of Roth profit. But on December 31st, what do I do now? Well, I now have to pay tax on the amount that I converted February 1. So I'm going to 1099-R myself for $10,000 from that February 1 conversion. And now on April 15th, when I file my taxes, it's going to look as though my income is $10,000 more being added to it, which means now I'm going to pay that $2,000 in tax on that $10,000 that I converted. But notice the $5,000 in Roth profit that I made from February 1 to December 31st, that's tax-free profit. And now as the years progress, I don't owe taxes anymore on that initial $10,000 investment. Now, if over the years I make additional $10,000 investments into my Coinbase account, it starts a new cycle of paying taxes on the amount that I converted and the 5-year, I'll call it 5-year period of time that your account has to be in place. So there's new clocks for the amounts that I convert each time. But the moral of the story is you do not pay the initial tax on whatever that dollar amount is. Hopefully that answered it.
Yeah, if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat. Put a Q in front of your question so we'll know to bring it up. This wasn't meant to be a long live stream to this evening. It just needed to be the friendly reminder of, hey, if you are looking to gain control with everything that's going on, if you are looking to take advantage of an opportunity that's coming because of the climate, whichever one, okay, we're talking about, you have to be structured in a way to be able to leverage that control. And so whether if it's part of your wealth building strategy, part of your debt crushing strategy, if you're trying to get rid of a lot of debt and you want to be able to take some of the advantages like being able to borrow from your your self-directed 401k, $50,000 up to 50% up to $50,000. And if that type of control and leverage are not really something that you're familiar with, then that's what we're here to help you with, is make you familiar with those and get you familiarized.
And I think what you're bringing up now is actually the objective for next week. We're going to, because today we just talked about Roth versus traditional dollars. What I want to do next week is break down the differences between, because what I share with you today is it doesn't matter whether we're talking about an IRA or 401k as it relates to Roth versus traditional, because it functions the same. But it does matter as it relates to how much money you want to be able to contribute or how much growth you want to have on your account. Whether you have an IRA or 401k, it absolutely matters, especially if you're a young person, because your ability to access your funds can only happen in one. You can only borrow against one account. And so we're going to break down some of those details around why you would want one versus the other next week.
We have a really good question coming up. I have a 401k from a previous employer that I no longer work at. I obviously can't contribute any longer to. Can I roll that into a Roth?
You absolutely can. You can do whatever you would like with that account because it's yours. I'd say the first step is you have to get it structured so that you can have access to it. So before you move it into Roth, you want to first move it into a position where you can have access to it. Because it's sitting at your previous employer's custodian, the most you can do is invest in the mutual funds, stocks, and bonds that they're offering. So the first step is to move it into a position where you can have more control over it, whether IRA or 401k. What I would ask Save to Serve is, what's your goal? Because depending upon your goal, should dictate what you decide to do with those funds. If you're just wanting control, what is the best account for you to have control over those dollars? It would be a self-directed 401k. And now, with that self-directed 401k, can you have both Roth and traditional inside the same account? You absolutely can. And again, as we talked earlier today, or as today's topic was focused on, making sure that we are all trying to make our way into becoming more Roth or more tax-free, because we want to make sure that any growth on those dollars are growing tax-free profit. So happy to help. Jump on my calendar.
Yes. And if you do have questions about what do I do, what's the process, we have help for that too. So I'll put that up right now. Here we go.
Yep. So that's specifically my calendar, self-directed.info/calendar is how you can physically get on my calendar there. But you can also go to sdretirementplans.com, get a lot of your questions answered on the site there, and also jump on my calendar.
Yeah, that's true. There are over 20 years we've been on the first page of Google, which meant something until AI summaries and whatnot. It was quite a flex we had a good run, didn't we? We have over 20 years of content. 20 years, that is a long history of talking about this topic. Lots of very content and value-rich blog posts and information over there. So that's very informative. I'm sure there's nothing we've left no crumbs on the self-directed 401k front. We've got all the tea on self-directed 401ks over there.
We do the things and we peel back the layers that others don't. And it's because we come from a different position. IRAs require custodial support. They require a bank being involved. Well, whenever you involve a bank, that means fees. Whereas a 401k is a trust, does not require a custodian. So it allows you to put your money in a position to where you have more of it. You get to eliminate that 2/3 of fees being eaten up by your account from the retirement gamble. So you are putting your money in a position where you have more of it, more control over it. So that's the key here, is we peel back the layers, open up the curtain so that you can have full access to your dollars to invest in what you want. Makes us a little bit different.
That's so funny. Nathan says, I knew you were in this space for a while, but I didn't realize it was 20 years.
I look good for my age, huh?
It's a long time to be
OMG.
To be nerding out on one particular thing. Here's the best part about this, though. Here's the secret, actually, to this. The people who are aware of what a self-directed 401k is, like, get in here, lean in, and note this down. Anybody moving in the self-directed 401k space, anybody who already has this on their radar, anyone who is versed or understands what this tool is, are making serious moves and have access to deals no one else is talking about. Because no one else has access to these types of opportunities, because they couldn't take advantage of them even if they wanted to. They simply cannot. So investors usually don't share these types of opportunities with everyone. They're not on social media advertising this investment opportunity. They're just not. They don't want to just deal with anybody, right? They want to deal with trusted investors. Two, oftentimes the reason why they have such rich communities and networks is because they get access to deals nobody else is getting access to. Why would anybody be on social media blabbing about this type of stuff? They may get bid out the next deal, right? The first 10 investors or the first 5 investors or the top tier investors get this particular package and these particular returns. Why would somebody who is used to having that seat give it up to somebody else? So these communities are full of wealth, and I mean full of wealth. If you are traveling within these circles and you are starting to network within these circles, why? Because you have the tool, which is the key that unlocks access to these circles. Then you get to hear about them. Then you start getting word on what those opportunities are. And before you know it, you have an invitation to sit at the table.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. That's just how it goes.
In most cases, a lot of times we're not invited into these spaces because it requires you to be an accredited investor. And most people don't realize the leverage that retirement dollars bring. Because the reason these investors want you to be accredited is because they don't want you flaky. If it's an opportunity they're going after, they need to make sure that everyone is on the same page. When you're using leverage dollars, it has allowed us to get into spaces where we may not have been accredited at that time. But because we're using qualified dollars, which means because these dollars are secure, because these dollars have a backing that money coming out of my savings account just doesn't have, it allowed us to play in spaces that otherwise we may not have been able to play in to begin with. And then once we have become accredited investors, the boost that your qualified dollars give you in helping you become an accredited investor is also pretty powerful as well. So you're absolutely spot on. It allows us to play in spaces that otherwise we may not have been able to.
And unlike, your traditional 401k, I think one of the most precious opportunities when you are dealing with people who understand and value control is they also understand that you want to learn, right? Self-directed means you are learning. You are the one who self-directed learning, self-directed retirement. Self-directed means that control, right? That you are in the seat, the driver's seat. When you're dealing with people in these types of circles, they understand that either you want to be passive or you want to be active or you're somewhere in between. Most times they were you. They were you. And if you want to learn, you have an all access pass to see behind the curtain, to go backstage, to see how everything's working. They would be more than happy to talk to you. But here's why they're not on social media. They don't have a YouTube channel. They're not talking about these things because the majority of people don't want to listen. So why would they waste their time? And that's usually what we hear is, why would I waste my time? Like, you should do a webinar about this type of, about your industry or the type of deals that you do. You should come and talk about it. Why would I waste my time? The majority, I would rather spend my time making money. Yeah. And that's the most unfortunate part, is most people are coming from a place that is far less successful, with far more criticism on something that they don't understand, right? And the people who do have those nuggets, that information that can help bridge that gap, they would be more than willing to share it, but they will not waste their time. And that's where we saw an opportunity to jump out and help bridge these gaps between just the tools alone and repairing or building a relationship with the word leverage, where we see the majority of people automatically dismiss, automatically discredit, and end up crippling themselves because of their relationship with a word, with an action like debt, right? They cannot see debt as leverage, and that's a big miss. So we hope that everything that we're sharing here, whether if it's on any of the material that we put out, that it's educational, that it's helping people grow. We have proof actually right here in this chat. Some of the people who have already been sharing, Veronica, Miss AB, they're in the chat. Nathan's in the chat, talking about where they started and where they are today. Whether they started with a velocity banking journey to help crush debt, it built that confidence. I can do things that I would have never dreamed possible. Look at me. Like, that is huge. You can't even wrap that and put it under a tree. You can't. That belief in yourself and seeing proof, being the proof. Maybe you're the first one in your family to ever do something like this. Like, that is where the majority of people are. They are the first ones. You can't put a price on that, actually, because what comes next, those moves that you make next, like, I cannot wait to see this. Those moves that you make next.
As much as becoming self-directed is about control, it's also about getting prepared. We say all the time, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So the key is, maybe you don't know what to invest in today. Maybe you don't know where your money should go. The key is putting yourself in a position so that when that opportunity presents itself, it's just a matter of you taking action. But you can't take action. For instance, the save, serve to save to serve comment. This previous employer's plan, in the position that it's currently in, even if an opportunity presents itself, we could have one of the best opportunities come sit in on our live stream to explain how to go about it. But if those dollars are still sitting in that previous employer plan, all you get to do is watch and comment. Versus putting yourself in a position now, even if you don't move any money over, just getting structured such that when that opportunity presents itself, now it's a matter of me liquidating whatever's sitting in my previous employer plan, getting it transferred into my my properly structured self-directed retirement account, regardless of which one it is. I write a check and away I go. So it's getting ready, getting prepared, getting structured so that you can take action when you're ready.
Yep. Okay, we have another question from Kyle.
Okay.
Kyle did not put a Q in front of his question, but we're going to bring it up anyway because Kyle showed up to class a little late. Maybe didn't hear that part. You got the pass, Kyle. And welcome, by the way. Glad you tuned in. Hey, Donnell, hopped on late. Unsure if you answered, but when is the best way to Roth my self-directed 401k to have the lowest taxation over several years? Any hack of Rothing it all at 59 and a half?
And if I remember, Kyle, I want to say you're in your mid 30s, somewhere in your 30s. And here's the key, especially for you. Why? And let's use real numbers. I've got $100,000 right now in my self-directed 401k, and I want to convert it to Roth. If you have the ability to handle a tax burden of $100,000, then convert it all today. Not a problem, which means when you go to pay taxes for 2026, you're going to add $100,000 to your income and take the full tax burden of that $100,000 in tax year 2025. But why do yourself like that? Why put yourself through that? Because you're in your mid 30s, you've got a good 20 solid years before you hit 59 and a half. What if you divide $100,000 by those 20 years and you take that dollar amount, what is that, $5,000 a year? Take $5,000 a year and you convert $5,000 a year over to Roth. And then in those years where maybe you made less income so you can take more of a tax burden on, you convert $10,000 that year, or you convert $15,000 that year, but you spread that tax burden out over the time that it's going to take before you are able to take advantage of it as a distribution. So meaning, me being 50 years of age, because 59 and a half is when I'm able to take a distribution, that's 10 years. If I had the same $100,000, I'm going to spread that $100,000 over that 10-year period. So it's less of a tax burden that I'm taking on. And here's the cool part about having a self-directed 401k. Self-directed 401k allows you to have both Roth and traditional dollars in separate accounts tied to the same account number, which means I can still invest my Roth dollars if I wanted to, even though I'm converting them or converting that my traditional over to Roth in increments. So I can still invest from both accounts if I wanted to. So again, moral of the story, answer to your question, spread that dollar amount over time, and so you don't have to take the full tax burden today.
Okay, Gabo says, do you need a custodian for an HSA?
Well, I think HSAs have a custodian because you have restrictions on what you can use that HSA for. So I think it already comes with a custodian, meaning whoever you have your HSA through, it is already linked to some bank, some custodian already exists.
Okay, and Save to Serve has another question. With my current employer, can I also roll my 403B into a self-directed account as well?
Great question. Maybe. Um, in most cases, your current retirement account, your 403B, isn't yours. You happen to work for a company that gave you the opportunity to contribute to a 403B. So in order for you to use their money, again, I get it, you're contributing your money to it, but it's actually their account. So in order for you to move their 403B into another self-directed account, you have to ask their permission. And it's specifically called an in-service transfer. You have to ask your employer if you're allowed to do what's called an in-service transfer. If they allow it, then here's where I've seen it occur. I've seen it where if a company allows you to move your current retirement dollars, it's because of one or two reasons. One, you're close to retirement age. Two, you have too much in it. Or three, they are looking to remove some of their, I'll call it liability from the books. And if they allow you to move a portion of your dollars, transfer a portion of your dollars into another retirement account, usually it's what you have contributed. They will let you take your basis, but they won't let you take anything that they would have matched. So again, if it's 100,000 in it, you put in 80,000, they match 20 of that 80. They will hold on to the 20, that 80 you would be able to do an in-service transfer into another self-directed account. That's how I've seen it.
Speaking of match, just quickly, the Roth contribution, employer or self-employed match, that could also be Roth.
Absolutely.
That everyone is sleeping on. Do you want to just touch on that real quick?
So, and if I understand where you're coming from, using, again, you're able to contribute as of today, what is it, 23,500 as of today. And if you were to contribute all 23,500 into your 401k, could you contribute that 23,500 as Roth? Absolutely. So what that means is you could absolutely contribute all of your elective contribution as Roth dollars and the match, which means you could have a fully, I'll call it converted, self-directed retirement account with all Roth dollars in it, which allows you to build and grow maximum profit. You're absolutely right. People asleep on it mainly because who benefits, right? Who benefits from you knowing this information? Because your objective is to pay whatever the tax rate is today so that my growth is growing tax-free. It is something that very few people talk about, but it absolutely is an opportunity. I think some of the gurus out there call it mega backdoor Roth is how it's labeled. But the truth is, it's just you electing to convert your elective and non-elective contribution, which is your regular contribution plus your match, your company's, your employer match contribution, and converting it all to Roth. Now, there's a process to do it, but the moral of the story is it can absolutely be done.
But for those who are self-employed or have side income, this is a pretty brilliant way to get more funds into a condition where you can leverage them as invest them as retirement dollars and be underneath that tax shelter.
And build tax-free profit.
Right.
Absolutely.
And all the rules still apply to those dollars, past that point. But if you are looking at even just in terms of how to reduce your taxable income, knowing that you can match yourself as a part of that strategy in contributions, right? Like that is a part of that. But if you're looking up how much can I personally contribute and it's not coming up that you can also match, then that number may be off. And so if you want more information about that, then you can also book a call to do that as well.
Happy to help.
Okay, so I think that's it. I think we've got all the questions answered. And if you have any watching the replay or you think of something, you can also put it in the comments under this live stream after we're done as well. We've been pretty good about answering those. Okay. Well, we just wanted to get on here to give you that friendly reminder. And we're starting now, of course, because December 31st, even though it seems like it's months away, it's going to seem like a week away. This time is flying, and this fourth quarter always just flies by so fast. But that won't happen to you because you have time to take action now and get yourself in a position. If you're paying attention, though, wink, wink, if you're paying attention to some of the moves that the market is making and you have waiting until December 31st to get yourself in a position to do something different, don't do that. And now you won't, because now you're educated on why. And if you need even more information on the executive order 14330, what's coming with that, we're about halfway through now, right?
Yep.
Congress had 100. Yep, Congress had 180 days. Well, they had 180 days. Nobody said that the clock wasn't still going just because they are technically off. They're still getting paid though. So there's that. That's a rabbit hole we're not going to go down. But the point is, if you're paying attention to all of this and you have it in your mind that that's not going to be me, I'm at least going to have options. I'm going to be in a position to pivot. Then you are going to have you're going to have a self-directed 401k. There's that, as long as you qualify for one. Yeah, as long as you qualify for one. But this would also help people who are thinking of starting a business. What would that business look like if you want to be able to take advantage of these types of programs, but not be penalized for having full-time employees? Now, there is some gray areas, right? Some loopholes. Full-time employees don't include your spouse, right?
Right. It does not.
So for those couples out there who are thinking to themselves like, we want to start a business, this may be a good choice for you, and 1099, whoever's contracting to help you instead. Staying in compliance is what we're here to help you with. And we have all of those resources available on our website, sdretirementplans.com. We hope you'll browse on over there. Let us know. Is it a vibe? Do you like it? We just gave it a revamp. It got a glow up recently. We love that for our website. Yeah, we love it for that. Okay, well, I think we're good now. Yeah. Oh, hold on a second. We want to thank my friend and mentor, Carlos. He's the one who introduced me to this. Can't wait to get started. Thank you. Jonathan, welcome to our stream, and thank you for sharing your journey and for jumping in the chat with us. We hope that you'll for sure come back. We're here every Tuesday, 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I think we know who Carlos is, right?
I have two Carlos in my head, and I don't want to blurt out the last name. So, but big up to Carlos.
Big up. Yeah. Think you, Carlos. And we love a good shout out. So we hope that people are sharing this information out there and getting value from it, of course. But we do I think it's our Carlos from the chat.
I'm sure.
It's got to be, right?
I'm sure.
Yeah. The Carlos. Are you kidding me? All the standard times. Nathan said. It's like a side joke. Okay, so if you want to know all of the inside jokes that people are laughing about in the chat, then you got to come in. You got to be here. You had to be here when it happened. We know that time is the most valuable asset that we have, and we're so grateful that you guys are spending your time here with us. And that's the stream.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we don't want to hold you any longer, but we love it when you tune in, and we love to see y'all chatting and becoming fam in the chat. Okay. Well, I think we're ready to go. All right. So we like to end with, if you didn't come from a wealthy family,
you can make sure a wealthy family comes from you.
So stay tuned.
Stay protected.
Stay focused.
Stay connected.
I'm Angelique.
And I'm Donnell.
I thought I lost a line. Okay.
You didn't.
And our goal is to help you
stay self-directed.
Ooh, I like that. And to do that, we have a ton of free resources, which I've just mentioned, but here's how to get more. We hope you'll join us next week. We appreciate all of you for tuning in. We hope you have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you
Get self-directed.